on functions. We started discussing about functions. So I showed you one example with radio checkboxes. You tried? So I will post some additional examples. You practice them. That means not only just what we discuss in class, some extra examples I will upload. Those you must able to design and create, right? So yesterday we learned about functions concept and what is the purpose of function. Function is used for refactoring the code. Refactoring is nothing but we can extract some set of lines and store in a function so that we can reuse the function. Yesterday we discussed about what is a function, and we discussed about the function declaration. We discussed about function expression. We have two concepts: function declaration, expression. Difference I explained. Function expression is the memory allocated for function where the functionality can change, and function declaration is a memory allocated for function where it can handle specific functionality. How to use declaration and expression syntax I explained. Declaration is defined function name and we have the options. Expression is defined using some name is equal to function. We define like this. We discussed the difference between them. Next important, one more option we discussed about function configuration. We learned that function have three parts. One part is declaration. So another one is signature. And another one is definition. Function have three parts, na? Function declaration, function signature, and function definition. Next, one more topic we discussed, function parameters. Why we need parameters? To modify the function. So a function can be modified by using parameters. We have two parameters. We have formal and we have actual. And now we will see more points about the functions. Actually, when we are working with function parameters, here parameter type. We need to know about parameter type. So what type of parameter is allowed in a function? So technically, when you design a function parameter can be any type. It can be a primitive type. It can be a non-primitive type, or it can be even a function also. So a function parameter can be any type of parameter. It can be primitive type, non-primitive type, or function. You can have anything in a function. Generally, if anybody asks like what type of parameters are allowed in a function, so you can have any type of parameter. There is no restriction for that. For example, let's see here. So function parameter can be any type. I am defining a function here. And we saw yesterday that we can have a parameter. Now the question is, what should be the parameter type? Remember, formal parameter is just a reference name, just like a variable name in JavaScript. That name can be anything and you can store anything. So name can be anything, you can store anything. For example, see, I am defining a function, some demo. In the demo function, we are using some ID. That means this time we are expecting as a number, right? That means I'm just using document.type. So I will print ID is equal to whatever ID is. That means whenever we access demo, we can pass an ID into it. So when you run this, it is going to accept and display that ID. So this time it is a number type. It can be a string type or a Boolean type or null undefined type also. And important is here, when you are dealing with this, it can be an array object type also. Means primitive types or non-primitive. It can be an array. For example, I give as suppose collection. If it is an array, then what you can do? We have to use a collection.what method map. And into that, we are using a function. We are reading every item and we are printing document.write item. By using map, we are doing. Now this is expecting an array. Remember, in other technologies, if it is an array, we put square brace like that. But in JavaScript, formal parameter is just name. Because you saw variables. How we declared a variable for array? Just name. How we declared a variable for object? Just name. The memory allocated is block curly brace. The memory allocated is square brace. But the name is just name. In other technologies, because they are strongly typed, they have to mention int, array type, string, array type, they have to mention. But in JavaScript, so in JavaScript, this is important. So in JavaScript, formal parameter is just a reference name. Into that, into the parameter, you can store anything. Into the parameter, you can store anything. So parameter is just a reference name. In that you can store anything. That means syntactically, we have a function, demo, and we have a some reference. And usually in this reference can be a number, it can be a string, it can be a Boolean, it can be an array, it can be an object, anything you can do. You can keep anything inside that reference. Then how do you pass a number? Usually we pass demo. It's a number. So into the demo, so we pass, this is a string. Into the demo, we pass a true. That's a Boolean. Into the demo, we pass a square brace. That is array. Into the demo, we pass an object. And into that demo, we can pass an array of objects. We learned array of objects. We can pass anything into it. And even into that, you can pass a function also. You can pass a function also into it. You can pass any type of data into it. But what you have to do, according to what type of data you are passing, you have to perform the operation. If you are sending an object, you know how to access object. If you are sending array, you know how to access array. If you are sending array of objects, you know that. And if you are sending a function, you know the function here. For example, I will show you here. So this is parameter. I will give a simple basic example for that. Let's go here in the function. This is array. I'm I am passing some Delhi. So I'm passing some Hyderabad like this, some Mumbai like this we are doing. And you can see it is going to get that and display them. We are passing an array. Because we are passing an array, we are using map. If we are passing an object, then we will access the properties, right? For example, this is rough example, small I will give. For example, suppose this is an object, product. And if it is a product, then document dot write, we are printing the details of product. What is the product details? Name. We are expecting product as an object, then it will have a key called some name. And remember, so here we have price and we are using some price. That means just product dot what price. In that case, here we have to pass an object into it. Object should have two properties. What is it? Name. Another one, object should have another property, price. We have to configure in this way. Now it is going to display that details of the product and show. You can have anything you can pass into it. This is an example here. That means you can pass anything as an object, as an array, even a function also. For example, I am just giving here a simple option like suppose message. Print is a function. Now generally, if this print is a function and it should do some functionality, then how you will call a function? Just print as a function. That means now we are expecting print to be a function. Then into the parameter, actual parameter, we will pass a function. This function will have document dot write, suppose some message like hello world, something. And you can see that a function is passed into it and you are calling a function which is printing the message. That means a parameter can be any type of parameter. Unlike other programming languages, we don't mention the type for parameters. We don't have types because JavaScript is not strongly typed. Then for all formal parameters are just formal names. And in that name, any value can be stored. That is big drawback also. Because if I have to restrict only number, I have to restrict only array, then I need lot of validations. I told you already, we have to verify is NaN. Is NaN means is it a number? Such things are required. In other languages, what is advantage? Because they are strongly typed, they restrict the type, right? So this is function parameter. That means a function can have parameters. And what is the role of parameter? As discussed yesterday, a function parameter is used to modify the function, right? Now we can have multiple parameters. A function can have multiple parameters. You can have more than one parameter. So that means a function can have multiple parameters. And actually every parameter is required and have order dependency. Actually, some technologies will provide optional parameters. I think you don't have optional parameters in Java. You have? No, you don't have optional parameters in Java, I think, right? But we have optional parameters in .NET, C#, TypeScript language. We have optional parameter. A parameter can be ignored. But generally, every parameter is mandatory. You cannot ignore. And it order dependence. That means in which order it is configured, in the same order we have to use. You cannot miss the parameters. Here, function overloading like concepts will not work because it's not a OOP language. It's not a OOP language. Those are all the drawbacks. That is the reason in real-time projects in advanced technologies, developers are now using an alternative for JavaScript called TypeScript. That's what you have to learn while learning Angular and React like technologies or Vue. But TypeScript is not understandable to browsers. Finally, TypeScript also should be translated into JavaScript. So why developers are using TypeScript to utilize all its facilities? But finally, it converts everything into JavaScript only. That's the reason some companies will directly use React with JavaScript. Some companies will use React with TypeScript. So you will learn about such language, TypeScript and all when you are learning Angular and such technologies. But the point here is, so you don't compare with your Java and other languages here because it doesn't matches with them. So it is completely little different in terms of so many things, right? So what is multiple parameter means every parameter is required an order dependency. So I will show you that. So here how we can configure. Suppose I am creating a function details. Details is expecting ID, name, price, stock, cities and rating. And we have some print. So many details are there. So many options are configured. So here, these are all parameters. And every parameter is mandatory. You cannot ignore them. And I just told you that one can be number, another can be Boolean, another can be array, another can be an object, another can be a function. Any type of things. First, I will take a simple point and explain what does the optional means. See, here we are using name, price, and these two details we are taking. Now what we are doing here, document.write, we are printing name is equal to whatever the name they pass. In the next line, price is equal to whatever the price they pass. This we are defining. Now I am printing here function details, just details, and we are passing, there is name and we are passing name, and price we are passing price. Suppose you are having some another parameter stock, and I will print that here stock. Stock is equal to, so true, stock is equal to whatever stock. Okay. And here I am passing true. Usually now what it will do is it will display all the details, name, price and stock. Suppose for one product I don't have price. Then I am writing only name and stock. Now what will happen? This true will be stored in price. That's order dependency. That means this TV will be stored in name, second one will be stored in price. Then how do you define that? I don't want to mention price. In that case, there is no way here. In JavaScript, what we do is, in that place, we use undefined. Already we know that undefined means value not defined. And what should happen? We have to write the logic here. What is the logic? If price is defined, I told you defined is written like this. If price is defined, we will print. If not defined, then we will print only name and stock. We will not print the price. Understood? What is advantage in your Java and other languages? You can create a function overload. Am I right? That means that one function can have two overloads. One overload will take the value of name, price, and stock. Another overload will take two. It's not possible here. You have to implement in this way, right? That is the reason in modern advanced programming, developers are not satisfied to use this JavaScript for high level technologies like Angular, React, and all. That's the reason they try to use alternatively TypeScript, because TypeScript is a OOP language. It's an object-oriented programming language, and it supports so many features for developer. But this is how we have to define. You see now, it is now working fine. If the price is supplied with a value, if it is supplied with a value, then it is going to print that price. Otherwise not. So this you have to implement with this kind of logic. Is price defined? Is stock defined? Is name defined? So much logic you have to write. That is what actually the parameter concept. So a function can have multiple parameters. Every parameter is required, and it is order dependency. So if you want to ignore any specific parameter, then you have to handle using undefined type. Then you have to handle using undefined type. There is no overloads here. That is the important. This is one example for that. I will give that example here. How you configure the type and define the type. Now you have parameters. You have parameters in your technologies also, Java and all. Can you tell how many parameters we can pass in a function? How many parameters we can pass in a function? Obviously, there will be not like unlimited. It's not possible. In computer technologies, there is no word called unlimited. Any number of, n number of, it's not there, because everything is limit. Everything has a limit. That means, for example, suppose your technology says that this is a string type. You can store any amount of data. It is an array type. You can store any amount of data. Suppose array. In an array, I want to store some names. How many names I can store in array? If I ask that question, you may say that n number of. How n number of? How much RAM you are using in your computer? 4 GB, 2 GB, 6 GB, 16 GB, am I right? Can you store more than 16 GB data? Then how you can say n number? There is no n number. That means even you see lifetime imprisonment, right? Means lifetime, he will die there only. No, in US it is like that. Sometimes here also some will be like that. But here lifetime means they say 7 years. They say 14 years, they say 22 years, like that. There is limit. Lifetime means it's not just life. There is a number for that. Actually, as per standards of so many programming, which programming standards your Java follows? Which programming standards your Java follows? Every language follows some standards. Like CMM, Six Sigma, like ECMA, IEEE, right? Every programming language follows certain standards, compulsory. Every software have to follow certain standards. A programmer should know, as per that particular standard, what is the limit. because every standardization limit changes. So our JavaScript follows the standards of ECMA, CMM, Six Sigma. These are ISO, IEEE. These are all standardization. Right? Your language may be following certain standards. Majority it will be IEEE standards, ISO, IEEE, Six Sigma, CMM, like standardization. And according to every standardization, the limit will change. As per majority programming language standardization, that means ECMA allows max 1024 parameters. It allows maximum 1024 parameters. That is the limit, right? And that is the program standards, the number of parameters you can pass. So you can have multiple parameters, and but we have a limit. Another point is passing too many parameters is not good for functions. Why passing too many parameters is not good for functions? It leads to injection attacks. Passing too many parameters leads to injection attacks. You heard about injection attacks? Suppose you are learning Oracle like database, Oracle MySQL like database. One of the major technical issue we face with such databases is called SQL injection. SQL injection is an technical issue that we face with databases which use SQL as language. SQL injection is a very big problem actually. Hackers hack our application using that. Right? That means lot of injection attacks will happen. When you use lot of parameters, lot of injection attacks will happen. Injection attack is nothing but, for example, we have SQL injection like that. For example, you have a text box. In the text box, we need an ID. And what should happen is, here user can enter ID and he can submit. And what we do is, for that we write a logic behind. The logic is nothing but, so we write like, so select star from table where ID is equal to that particular ID. Means some backend logic we written. Now what happened is, the person here is writing ID as 3. After that, he hacked your application. He knows your table, database table, and he will put a semicolon and say delete star from table. And when he submits, this query is submitted beside it and it will execute. These are called injection attacks. Hackers do that. This is very big technical issue in database programming. That is the reason you learn about stored procedures. We recommend to use lot of stored procedures to avoid injection attacks. Right? We don't ask users to write directly the queries. Majority we ask users to use only stored procedures. Developer should use stored procedures. Even a small operation also better to do with a stored procedure. And you know so many technical terms. Do you know in real-time programming, we should never use star. In real-time programming, we should never use star in database programs anywhere. When you are writing a Java program to communicate with some database, never use stars in your programs. Why? What is the meaning of star? Not all. It is a search pattern. You already learned meta character, na? What star means? 0 or more. Am I right? Then why you are saying all again? Your mind set to only Oracle, na? You already learned meta character, na? What you learned about asterisk? 0 or 1. There you don't know technical name. That's the reason you say all. Right? Then they should have given a word all, na? Select all from table. Why they haven't given the word all? They have given where, right? They have given update. They should have given all, because you want all, right? Star is not all. It is a search pattern. Search pattern means it is searching for 0 fields or more fields. Why you are searching? Why you are searching? If you mention the field name directly, select ID, name, price from table, then it will directly pick them, right? That means sometimes people ask like, how do I know what fields are present? Without knowing what fields are present in your database programmer, that's like a silly point. Many people ask like that. How do I know how many fields are there? You are working in a project. You exactly know what you are dealing with. Project is not imagination. Project is about facts. You have to write code for certain facts, not for imagination. You cannot say that, how do I know? You exactly know what you are dealing with, right? That means what you do, we know the fields, and for that we write. These are all technical points. And remember, these are important to implement in real time. These are all recommended. In many interviews for Java people and all, they ask in interviews like, I am communicating with a database. Millions of records are present in a table. I am fetching them and showing in my Java. Tell me the precautions I should take to keep the connection fast. They will ask question like that. They will say that, tell me the techniques and tricks I have to implement to keep it fast. Then one of the first answer developer will give is, we never use star in queries, right? So parameters will always lead to this kind of hacking. That is the reason we don't recommend users to use lot of parameters. So what happened is ES6, ES5X means 5 plus versions introduced REST parameters. So what is the specialty is a single REST parameter can handle multiple values, can handle multiple arguments. A single REST parameter can handle multiple arguments. It can handle multiple. So one parameter can handle everything. Generally, you are declaring 10 parameters. Now one parameter can handle everything. One parameter is able to handle everything. So you can have a lot of parameters, but not recommended. Then what is the solution for that? How you handle multiple values? Multiple values you can handle by using REST parameter. So a REST parameter is defined using ... and param name. Parameter name. A REST parameter is defined using that. And it is an array type. It is an array type. That means actually that REST parameter is an array which can handle multiple values. So now you need to deal with it like an array. And what is advantage? One parameter can allow multiple. So for example, see now here. I will show one small concept here. See. Here we are using name, price, stock, or it is having some more details, like it is having like rating, name, price, stock, rating. So here I will put the rating also. Rating is nothing but I will put here, it is an object. So I will use rating dot what rate, something like this. Now what happens is here, how many parameters are there? 4. Using too many parameters is not good. Then what we will do is, we will remove this. Actually, it is working now. Suppose I will pass here last object. Object will have a rate. Rate is 4.3. Now you can see actual this is working fine. It is working. But see now, I am removing all these parameters. I am removing all those parameters. They are not working anymore. I will just use dot, dot, dot and product. Now all these values can be stored in one product. It is a REST parameter. So you don't need multiple parameters. One parameter is enough to handle all of them. And this is array type. This is an array type. You see it is an array type. Then if it is an array type, do you know what happens? If it is an array type, it is an array means at 0, at 1, at 2, at 3, am I right? At 3, these values are present. At 0, this value, at 1, this value, at 2, this value, and at 3, this value. Then how you access? You want to print a name, then you use product of 0. Or I told you easy method. I told you destructuring, array destructuring technique. Then what I do here is inside the function, we will declare one is name, another one price, another one stock, another one rating, and we will assign this array type product into this. That's simple. Now parameters are not many. Inside that values can be many. It doesn't matter. Our problem is parameter. Our problem is parameter. You cannot have multiple parameters. That is not good for application. That is not good for application. If it is good and enough, then why to introduce such things? Right? In advanced JavaScript, we always prefer these. We don't write a lot of parameters. That's not good for application. Now you see now it is going to work. That means into these references, these will store. What will happen here? You already know. The 0 of product will be stored in reference of name. Right? You see now it is going to print the details same. This time we are using a REST parameter. And while using REST parameter here, some more rules are there. Every function can have only one REST parameter. That means you cannot have multiple REST parameters. REST parameter must be only one. And important, you can have other parameters along with REST parameter. You can have other parameters along with REST parameter, but REST parameter must be only one. So one REST parameter and other parameters you can have if you want. And but one more point here is REST parameter must be the last parameter in formal list. In formal list, it must be the last parameter. That order is important. REST parameter must be the last parameter in formal list. That's important. So that is the parameter, how you define the parameters. So REST parameter must be the last parameter in formal list. Let's see here how this works. That means how we use that REST parameter. That means syntactically, when you are writing here, syntactically we have a function demo into the dot 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 param1 and dot 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 param2, and this is invalid. We have a function demo in that we have dot dot param1 and we have a title. This is also invalid. We have a function demo and title and dot dot param1, and this is valid. You can have like that. Can we have other parameters? We can have other parameters, but REST parameter must be the last. last parameter. So this is important. How you define the parameters and configure them, right? REST parameter. So example I will show here means already we are having a REST parameter. You can have multiple. So for example, see now here like this. I want to print here a title. I'm using a title. It's not allowed. You see the rule, it tells a REST parameter must be last in parameter list. That is rule, compulsory. And here I will keep this before it. I am keeping it before it, title, comma, REST parameter. And what I will do is, before this name, I will print the title. Means here I will put a heading. And in that heading, I will print the title. I will print the title. And then before you pass all the values, the first parameter must be a title. Am I right? Here I will put as what product details. And all others will be stored in REST. All others will be stored in REST. And you see now, so here it is going to handle that very well. That means, can we have other parameters while using a REST parameter? Yes. But the REST parameter must be last. If anyone asks why it should be last. Why it should be last? See, sometimes your bad luck will be there in interview, right? If you are answering every question, whatever interviewer is asking, then interviewer ego will hurt because you are answering everything. Then he will try to ask something you may not know, very in-depth, very complicated, because his ego obviously hurts because you are answering everything as if like you know more than him. Sometimes happens, right? You know better than him. Because they are people who are interviewing, they're working on a technology with old features. Sometimes they are not aware of the new things you learned in class. And if you tell them that, then they will ego will hurt. They say that he know more than me, right? In that case, what happens? He will go questions in such a way that you can't handle them. Means very in-depth, complicated questions. That is the reason always best way in interview is, so make him feel like you know less than him. Satisfy his ego. Right? No, sir, I never learned about this, sir. Can you tell me? Right? That's okay, because you already answered so many correct, one or two such things. If you ignore, then he will satisfy. Even you know, ignore. Because that you do after you have answered 9 out of 10 correct. And 10th one you say that I am not clearly available, knowing about this. Then he will satisfy. One point he don't know. Right? So that is the trick in interviews actually, right? Because sometimes people have this kind of mindset when they are interviewing you. Right? Usually when some people put fake experience now. They put fake experience and try to attend interviews and all. What is the problem with them is they tell themselves that I am fake. Right? He don't need to identify. They tell, for example, you've put some fake experience like 2 years working in a company. Right? And interview call comes. So he says that tomorrow at this time I will schedule interview. Then what you will do? Okay, sir. Okay. Yes. Why? You don't have any work? You don't have any work? How you are available every time? That means you should say that, no, tomorrow at this time I have a meeting. client meeting, very urgent. I can't attend. Can you please schedule other time? That makes him think that, okay, he's little genuine. If you say, yes, sir, anytime I'm ready. How you are ready anytime? You don't have any work in company. How you are ready every time, right? That means even you are faking your experience. You have to prove it now. That means you have to tell. And there is certain timing of scheduling interviews. Tricks are there. For example, he will say that I will schedule interview at 2 p.m. No, that is not good time for interview. Why not good time for interview? From 1 to 2 p.m., the interviewer's lunch will happen. After lunch, he is free. Now it has to digest. Am I right? Now he will play with you because he has so much time. He will play with you because it is his free time. In his free time, they keep an interview. And then you will be, who is that interviewer? He is also developer. Senior developer interviewing you. Then what will happen is he will play with you in interview. He will ask this question, that question. You schedule always interview at the time he wants to leave home. That means you say that evening 8:30 is okay for me. By that time I will finish all my work. I am ready for interview. Then what HR will do? They will ask him that, sir, please take an interview for this person. He is hurried to go home because all the day he worked. He is hurried to go home. Then two chances are there. Either he is frustrated, then your bad luck, right? And the secondary, he is in hurry. Then he will exactly ask what he wants for project and leave. He will not do any nonsense, right? If you give time to him, he will do lot of nonsense. He will try to ask this, that, so much complicated. These are all the techniques and tricks not for freshers, right? Not for freshers. People who want experience, fake experience, they are having genuine experience. Fresher means you can't do anything because you are free. You have to go at that particular allocated time and you have to attend the interview. If you are faking your experience, then these are all the techniques and tricks you need to know. Otherwise, you will face problems, right? These are very important, right? That's the reason these kind of questions will wire up. Don't try to explain your answer. Use a technical word. If you try to explain your answer like this will happen, that will happen, like this it will go, then he will pick up a question in that explanation again. If you give a technical answer, then he is satisfied. He will move to the next. Don't try to explain your answers. Try to answer your answers always with technical word. Simple. Keep the answer one word, one sentence, enough. Don't try to explain. What you learned, don't try to explain. That will be problem. Because from that explanation, you say, like this, I will access the data. Then he will say, why not like this? Right? That is the point. So this is all very important. That's the reason these kind of questions. This is a reasonable question also. That means why it should be last parameter. Any reason you can tell? Why rest parameter must be last parameter? Rest parameter must be last parameter because its nature is to read up to end. Its nature is to read up to end because it will read all parameters. How many? How many parameters? You learned slice, substring, substr like methods from starting index to end. That means there should not be anything after that end. That is the reason another value is not allowed after rest. Why another value is not allowed after rest? Because so a rest parameter reads up to end. Hence it must be the last parameter. It must be the last parameter. That is the point here. So how we can define and access. So example I will give here. This is an example for This is one example for that. In this, we have other parameter also along with the rest parameter. So can we have more than one rest parameter in a function? No, right? That is important. Now we have another point introduced in the latest JavaScript is in advanced JavaScript, they have a spread syntax for parameter. Spread syntax for parameters. They have introduced another concept called spread. This is also the new concepts for parameters. The rest parameters, another one, spread parameter. What is actually spread? Here I will show one point. A spread approach allows multiple single value to spread into multiple formal parameters. A spread approach allows single value to spread into multiple formal parameters. That is difference. So spread approach, that is what? Single. I will show this point also. What is the spread approach of parameter? Here we are using a function and a demo. We have A, B, C, and D. Now, whenever we access demo, here, how many parameters need to be passed? Now, how many values we have to pass? 4. 4 values we have to pass. We can do one thing. We can store all the 4 values in an array. Some values is equal to 10, 20, 30, 40. All the 4 values are stored in one array. And we will pass these values into this. But this is not done yet. Now see here. When you pass values is what type? Array. So how many arguments demo is expecting? How many arguments you are passing? Not 4, 1 only. You are passing only one argument. It have 4 values. Then what will happen now? This values is stored in A. B, C, D are undefined. They are undefined. Now what we do is simply we put ... here. It will function. That is spread syntax. That means now it can spread these values into those individual parameters. It is a reverse mechanism. Rest parameter is about formal parameter can be only one. And multiple arguments can be passed. Spread is nothing but multiple formal parameters will be there. One argument is passed. That is the point. This is called spread syntax. I will show here. For example, I will do in this way now. Suppose we are adding some details. Let's keep it simple here. Suppose we are having name, so price and stock. 3 details are present. And we are printing them. Document.write, we are printing them. Name is equal to value of name. And price is equal to the value of price. And stock is equal to the value of stock. We are defining like this. Okay. Now here I am creating an array called product. Into that product array, I am storing name and I am storing price and I am storing stock. True or false. This is an array. And I will pass that into this product into this. But what will happen now? All these are passed into which reference? name reference. That means you can see it will print only name, all these. Others are undefined. How you can spread them? Just you have to use dot, dot, dot. Any number of parameters, it is 3 dots only, right? A standard syntax for that. Now you can see here it is going to spread everywhere. That is the spread syntax. If anybody asks what is difference between rest and spread, rest is about formal parameters, spread is about actual parameters. That is the point, right? So here we have to do this like this, values. This is a example for that. I will copy this example. So in JavaScript, in the modern JavaScript, we have rest parameters and we have spread. And here I will give a simple note. So rest is about the formal parameters. So that means, what is the point? A single formal parameter allows multiple arguments. Spread is about the actual parameters. A single actual or parameter actual value can spread into multiple formal parameters. Spread is about actual parameters. A single actual value can spread into multiple formal parameters. So, and very important here is, so spread actual value must be an array type. Understood? Similarly, rest is also what type? Array type. Spread actual value must be array type, and rest is also array type. Both are array types only. That is functions and their parameters. So function can be parameterless, function can be parameterized, function can have multiple parameters, function can have any type of parameter, function can have rest parameters, and function can use spread syntax for parameters. These are all some advanced JavaScript things you should know to implement in future JavaScript advanced technologies, because in general basic JavaScript we don't much use this. We just use function, parameters and all. In the modern JavaScript, people are using them. In Angular, React, Vue, everywhere people are dealing with REST. They are dealing with spread like syntaxes very much. In daily life, you will see them using. So these are the important points. Okay. Next important, here we have a function with return. Function with return. Generally, why we need a function with return? What is the purpose of a function with return? So generally, I will give a simple point here. For example, see, actually we are typing like this. Suppose we have a function addition, we have a comma b, and we have, so return a plus b. Like this we are writing. So what is the purpose of return in a function? What is the purpose of return in a function? Why a function needs a return? So what is the necessity of return for a function. Generally, while learning, you may have some idea, like generally people say about it like it returns a value. Am I right? A function with return will return a value. That is what the idea of many people is, which is not actually. Return is what kind of statement? It is a jump statement. Return is a jump statement. That means it terminates from that function. Then how it returns value? How it returns value? It is used to terminate execution. It is a jump statement. How you say that jump statement is returning value? So return purpose is not returning value. Then what is happening in this case? What is the concept? I will explain the point. See, for example, we are writing a function and actually demo. In this function, document.write statement 1 and like this, I will write statement 2, 3 and 4 like this. We are writing 4, 5 some. That means we have a statement 2, statement 3, statement 4, statement 5 like this we are using, and I am calling the demo function. Now, actually this is a void method. It is a void method. It's an ordinary void method. Now I am using a return keyword here. Is it possible to use a return in a void method? Yes, it is possible. And what is the purpose of return? It terminates. That means whatever you write after return is not reachable to compiler. It is called unreachable code. It is not reachable to compiler. So 4 and 5 compiler cannot reach there. It will stop at return. So return is going to stop the function. Understood? And you see now it is going to print only 1, 2, 3. If I shift my return after 4, then it is going to execute 4 also. So return is not returning a value. First, that point you should be clear. It is not returning a value. Return is not to return a value, right? It is not returning a value. Okay. Then see what happens now. I am writing here some function called demo. Okay. I have, or it is a function called add. Okay. And here we have another function called print. I am creating here 2 parameters A, B. Now, what is the point is, I want to perform addition on A and B, and I want to use that result in print function. I want to perform A plus B, and whatever result comes, I want to print here in another function. Now, how you will do that? First, I am declaring a variable where C is equal to A plus B. Can I access the C here? We cannot access because every variable is function scope na. Okay, how we can access? Can I make it global variable? So I will keep it as a global variable. Global variable C. Now it is okay. We can access here. That means we can say document.write C is equal to, or say addition. Addition is equal to whatever C value is present, we can access here. That means we are using a print here. We are using a print here. Print is the function we are executing. That is the print function executing here. and it is undefined because add not executed. We will execute add function also, and it will return here not a number. Why? Because it is not accessing the value. I will tell you how to access the value. That is the point. Now the question here is, you declared a variable and you are accessing the variable and using it. Why you declared a global variable? Because anything defined in a function is not accessible to another function. That means you are having lot of memories now. For function, one memory is allocated. After that, for global variable, another memory is allocated. You are allocating lot of memories. See the point here. Actually, when we are doing such kind of operation, why this C, when I declare inside, why this C is not accessible outside? Why it is not accessible outside? The logic is very simple. Actually, what happens? We call this function, then memory is allocated. In that memory, it is going to deal with A and B. This is the memory allocated for the function. Am I right? And why this memory? Here also memory C is equal to A plus B. Why this memory is not accessible to this print? Because after this statement, this is the state, that is the block. After the block, it executes the function. After executing the function, this is end block. Am I right? When it reaches end block, the memory is destroyed. When it reaches the end block, the memory is destroyed. Whatever memory allocated for that function is destroyed. Then how it is available to others? Understood? That means once it reaches that end block, the memory destroyed. Now what technique we do here is, see, we will just use the word return here. We use a jump statement return here. We use a jump statement return. That means what happens here? Execution starts. That means memory is allocated. And after memory is allocated, this action is performed. Am I right? That means in that memory, it performs A plus B. After that, before it reaches end, it stops. Return is a jump statement. Na? That means before the function ends, the function stops. That means the function memory is still there. That's good. That means the memory allocated for function is not removed because you are not reaching end. Before reaching end, you are stopping. That's what you saw. Statement 1, 2, 3. After 2, I kept return. That means after 1, 2, it stopped. That means now what here happening here? Memory is not destroyed. Memory allocated for function is still available. Then do you know what will happen? The result of this will be stored in this memory only. The result of the function will be stored in the function memory only. That means now in this function memory, it will have add is equal to A plus B. Understood? That means by the name add memory allocated, in the same memory, the data is stored. And remember, it is now global. It is accessible here because it is outside function now. It is outside this function. Am I right? Outside the function means it is obviously it is a global scope. Am I right? That is the concept of return. Return is not returning any value. It is not returning any value. What return is doing? Do you know technical definition of return? Return technical definition is it discards the memory. That means it discards the, actually we call as void return type. It discards the return. It discards the return means the memory discards before it disposes. Then what happens is memory is still available. That means memory is still available. And what is that memory name? The function name is used as memory name. So this add is going to work in two ways now. It works like a function and as a variable. It works like a function and variable. It will do the functionality, am I right? And it will store the result. If I don't use return, it will do the functionality and it will dispose that result. If it disposes, then what I should do? I should declare a global variable. From there, I should access that and use it. That means now where is the result? The result is in add document.write. I will put here addition is equal to what we have to do. We have to call the function add. Into that we will pass 30, 40. Then what will happen now? It will pass these two values into a plus b. It will perform this operation and it will store that result here. Am I right? It will store that result here. Because the memory is not destroyed. It is not reaching end. The memory is still available for the function. Then you can access and use it here. Then you can see that it is going to work now perfectly. That is the point about return. Right? That means you don't need to use extra memory. The memory allocated for function can be used to store its results also. So that we can access and we can use. Then you may ask like, then better every function we will create a return so that we don't need extra memory. But there is a drawback. What is the drawback? If memory is not destroyed for a function and function memory is still available and you are not using, then memory will overload. That means when you are not looking for using its result anywhere else, then better dispose it. Then create what kind of methods? Void. Void methods will destroy the memory. But the methods with return will not destroy the memory. They will keep the memory available so that we can access and use. So return is not returning values. It is the process of configuring the memory of a function not to dispose. Even the function finish the functionality so that we can access and we can use. So it is stored. That's why we are accessing. You don't need to declare a global variable and define anything. So you can configure like this. This is the concept of function. So why a function needs a return? So return is a jump statement. Return is a jump statement. Actually, it terminates the memory of function. It terminates the function before its memory is disposed. Hence, we can use the function memory to store the function values and access from any another function. Because generally anything happened in a function is function scope. Var, let, const, anything you use, maximum scope is what? Function. And if you want anything globally, then you should declare a global variable again. That means function memory separate, global memory separate. We don't want like that. That means we can configure the function and its memory in such a way that you can access the memory, even the functionality finish, which is not possible directly, which we do by using return. So syntactically like this. So function name, and we define return and what return value. And the point is simple again. That means a function can return what type of value a function can return. A function can return any type of value. A function can return any type of value. It can be primitive type, it can be non-primitive type, or it can be even a function again also. In several situations we do that in future. That means a function can return a function also again. It can return a function also again. That's the functionality here. So there can be very complex. You can return an array or an object or anything. So this is the example actually for this. And as we know that the function can return anything. A function can return anything. Here it is returning a number. And it's not necessary that it should have a simple. So you can simply put here, you can put a collection. Am I right? It can return a collection. Collection is what type? Array. Right? That means now you can pass an array and you can define an array into that. That means you can see, suppose you are defining a collection and it can return that collection. It can return the collection. Then how you use the collection here? You know that how do we use the collection? That means now it is returning a collection means what? Temporarily what I will do? Here into the add, it is expecting a collection. Collection means it is an array. I will put here, so 10, 20 and 30. And remember, this is an array which is returned by this add. Then how do we print it? Not like this. I will do like this now. We are using add. Add is a method. It is expecting a collection. Collection is, suppose I said Delhi, and it is like Hyderabad like this. And some Mumbai like this. Now how to print this? We can apply a map over it. Am I right? Because it's an array returning. And we can read every item. It uses a function. We can read every item and we can print the item. Document.write what it is, item. But here, so important is we can call and we can configure it. That means it is going to return those details. You can return any kind of value. It can be string or a number or a boolean or an array or an object. And once you know that it is returning an array, then you can apply a map on it. If it is returning an object, then we define the keys and access the keys. So you can configure a function with return. This is another example for that. Now, if anybody asks like, can a function have more than one return? Can a function have more than one return? Yes, it can have. It can have. A function can have more than one return. That is what we call as conditional rendering. Conditional returns. Conditional return. A function can have more than one return. That means, for example, conditional based return. That means what we are doing here is, suppose we are saying function verify user, verify some password. Am I right? Then what we are doing here, we are asking password. We are asking password. And what we do is we are using, so here we are using a simple condition. What is the condition? So if password is matching with some admin, then what should happen? It should return success. Am I right? Otherwise, what it will return? So it will return, so invalid. So it is having more than one return. It can have more than one return. You can design in such a way that if a number is passed, it will return something else. If a string is passed, it will return something else. That means it can return different. It can return different. For example, here you see now I'm using verify password, and here I'm using the password, whatever the password is there. Password is suppose admin. That means this is a function which is returning a string. Then we have to print the string now. So document dot write, what it is, verify password, and I will use prompt. I will say enter password, right? Just roughly. That means it will take the value and return that value. And you see now what it is going to do. So here I said where password, some wrong password, then it is invalid. And the password is admin, then it says success. It can return, it can have multiple return. And remember, it is complex. That means you can return a function also. That's very complex. That means actually what we can do is we can define this return. Here we can use another function. So I am returning another function. It can return a function. It can return a number, string, boolean, array, object, primitive, non-primitive type, or it can return even a function. And this function is doing some message, document.write. So login what? Success. Login success. Then the question here is how you will execute it. Can you tell? Function. This is another function. And document.write. So invalid password. Then how you access that function now? It is returning a functionality. Then what we do? Verify password. Into that what? Verify password. Into that we pass an password. So I will just put a prompt. What it is? Enter password. Okay. But see here now. I will refresh this. I will enter wrong password. You see not printing anything. Can you tell what should I do extra? What is verify password returning? What is verify password returning? It not string. It return is a function now. Am I right? We designed it to return a function. Am I right? But here it is returning a string. Am I right? Then how it will work? How to return a function? You have to invoke this function here now. That means see, I am invoking the function beside it like this. I am invoking the function beside it. But still see here. Now I entered some wrong password. Then it is not printing. Why? Because that function will execute. This is the function. Observe, this is the function. Right? This is enter password. This is verify password. Final return is this one. That means this is the final return. Am I right? The final return of that function. We are calling that. Now you see here, I am entering password. Then it is invalid. That means I am using admin. Then it is login success. A function can return a function, right? That means these are very extreme programming, right? Very complex, very extreme programming. This much is good to have a knowledge, but not regularly required at learning levels. But this is good and very important at experience levels. At learning level, this much in-depth not required. Just function, return values, use those values. But these are very important for future. Why? Because at complex libraries, we design functions to return functions. Right? That is the technique actually. So this is the concept how you manage. So a function can have a return. This is another example. I hope you are clear. So function have so many things, right? Function returns and options. Now we have two more topics are there that we will see tomorrow, right? Related to functions two more options are there. We call function promises, function generators, function recursions are there. We will see about them tomorrow. Then we can start object oriented programming of JavaScript. JavaScript is not a OOP language, but some basics of OOPs are here available, which we will learn. How it uses class, how it uses constructor, what rules are there, we will discuss. That we'll see tomorrow. Okay, right.